Okay, so welcome to the second part of Crud application development, right? So in the first part, we just created the backend API. Okay, so JSON backend API, and it is in the watch mode. And next, we just created a basic setup by having an employee class we created, and then employee service we created, and we included HTTP client module in the root module, and in the employee service we just injected the HTTP client and we included the base URL, right? So that is the basic setup what we did. And now let's have one more command prompt to run this project. Okay, so ng serve -o. Okay, let it get executed. Until then, let's keep this in the background. Now, so what else? What the next step we are going to perform here in the CRUD application is we are first going to create a component for what? To add an employee object in the backend API, right? And the steps. First, we need to create an employee form, HTML form we need to create. And then we have to create an employee object for the class. Okay, we have employee class created now. So we are going to create an object and we are going to bind it with the employee form. Two-way binding, right? So that whenever the user type in the form, automatically those information comes to your employee object. So you do not need to fetch values from HTML elements like text box, buttons. You do not need to fetch the data. If it is two-way binding, automatically when the user types in, those information will be preserved in the employee object. All right. So we are going to bind it, and after binding it, we are just going to pass. Okay, the server is ready. Okay. So we are going to pass this object to the employee service. Okay, so that is the next step. When the moment when we submit the form, we are going to code to pass this employee object to the service, and using HTTP client in the service, that employee object will be sent to API, and API will keep the employee object. It will get inserted, it will get added, created in the JSON. Okay, and after insertion, it will return us the response. Actually, the API will return us the response. It is a fake API, right? Just dummy backend fake API. So it will be responding the object itself. Whatever you inserted, the same object API will respond back to the service as observable. Okay, it will be responding it as an observable. So what is observable? It is nothing but a special type, a special function. We can call it as a special function. And observable provide a unified way to work with the different kinds of data. Okay, it just provides a way to work with different kind of data. That means like observable can emit. Okay, it can able to send a single value or a sequence of values, one by one, a sequence of values. Even it can able to send it synchronously. Synchronously mean you have to wait for the response, and you could perform other actions only after you get response. Or asynchronously. Asynchronously means the client need not wait for the response. The client can proceed with other work in the application. When the response is ready, the response will reach us. Okay, the client application need not wait for the response. The response may come even a little later. So that is asynchronous. Okay, you do not, the client application or the user do not need to wait for the response. You can proceed with other actions. Even observable can able to load lazily and also eagerly. Like if you want your data to be emitted faster, you can do that. And if you want it to be slower, observable can able to do that also. And finally, it can unicast to a single consumer. See, the data can be sent to one particular customer, or it can be sent to multiple consumers. Okay, multicast, unicast, multicast. So these are the features of the special observable instance in Angular. Anyway, we'll be discussing about that while developing project. So in short, what is an observable? Observable is nothing but it represents a sequence of information values which can be observed by your Angular application. So that is what observable is all about, right? Now let's come back. So the API will emit the response. Okay, the API will send the response as an observable, which means it can be a single value, it can be a sequence of value, it can be asynchronous, it can be synchronous, it can be lazy loaded, it can be eagerly loaded, it can be unicast, it can be multicast, as we just discussed. So the data will send from API back to service, and from service we are going to send it. We are going to get the data in component by subscribing to this observable. Okay, so by subscribing means like here is the consumer. Okay, consumer subscribe to observable. Whenever the data comes to observable, it will be distributed, given to the subscribers, the consumers. Okay, those who subscribe with it. Okay, so this is what we are going to do it right away, and let's do it faster, and also let's try it creating as simple as possible. Okay, now my server is running. Okay, so let me bring it here, and this third command. So first command prompt, my JSON server is running. Second command prompt, my Angular application is running, and in the third command prompt, okay, I'm just going to create a component. So ng generate component. Let's name it create employee component. So create EMP. And I don't want inline, CSS file for this component. And I don't want testing file for this component. So skip tests. Okay. So we will get only two files. One is the component HTML file and the component TS file. That's enough. Okay. Let's keep it as simple as possible for easy understanding. Okay. Let's go to the component file. In the first step, let's create a component, and prior to that, let me go to app.component.html file, and as we know well, let us delete everything except the last line, the router outlet. Okay, so let me cut this, and let's select all, delete it, and let's paste it. Okay, and also now we created a component, right? And let's try app create EMP. That is our component. Let us save it, and let's check in the browser. Okay, the component is working fine. Good. And let's come back to our component. Okay. Now here, instead of this, I want to have a form element. Okay, let's use a form. And inside the form element, let me have the first text box input. By default, type is equal to text. So we do not need to include that. Type is equal to text and all. Let's add a placeholder. This is for employee ID. Okay. And okay, we'll do the binding later. Okay, two breaks. Same. This is for employee name. And again, this is for employee phone. And this is for employee email ID. And this is for employee designation. And employee's salary. Okay. So these are the data actually we want to track, right? So let's have them. And along with that, let's have a button. So button and okay, so submit. Let me just name it submit. And let's have it as type equals submit button. Okay, so the form is ready. Let's have a look at it. Fantastic. We have got the form. Okay, right. By using CSS, and by using Bootstrap and by using Material, Angular Material, we can style this form. Okay, but right now let me keep it simple and let's just concentrate on Crud, how Crud works. Okay, instead of concentrating much on styling it. Okay, now the next step is actually we created a form. Yeah, it's ready. Next, we need to bind it with an employee object. Okay, so let's create an employee object. Okay, in the component only. Okay, this is what component. How to create an employee object? It's super easy. Object name is of type class employee. So the employee class got imported. Okay, equals new employee of. Okay, so an employee object got created. And now we need to bind this employee object with the HTML elements. And to do that, we just need to have, if you want two-way binding, remember, you need to include forms module. Okay. And let's add that point. If you want to bind it, include forms module in your module. Okay. Right. So let's come back here and let me go to my module, app module.ts, and let me add forms module. So we are going to import forms module. Just by importing here, automatically it will get imported from Angular forms. Good. If we have forms module, then we can make use of two-way binding. Now let's come here and let's include banana in the box, ng model equals the object dot, okay, employee ID. So I am binding this text box with my object's employee ID property. Okay. Now the same way, let me copy it. I'll paste it with every element. So whenever the user types here, automatically those data will get stored in the object. Okay. And here it is going to be employee emp dot emp name. And this is going to be emp dot phone. And this is going to be emp dot email. This is going to be emp.desig for the designation, and this is for the salary. So these text boxes are now bounded. Two-way binding. We did it. And next, we need to have a submit button. Okay. Right. We have got submit button. And when you hit the submit button, we want to pass this employee object to our service. So now what we'll do in the form, let's include ng submit. Okay, the moment when you hit submit, it will take you to a method called submit emp. That's it. So this is going to be the method submit emp. But actually there is no such method in our TS file yet. Okay, now we are going to create it. And just click quick fix. It will declare a method submit emp automatically in our component TS file. Okay, now let's go and confirm it. Yes, it created one method submit emp. Okay, let me cut it and I'll keep it at the last. Okay, and we don't need any throw keyword here. So let's just remove it. Okay, what is the purpose of this submit emp? I just need to send the data to service. Okay, the employee object to service. Prior to that, let me just log it console.log this dot the employee object, and let's see what actually it has. Okay, in the emp object, the moment when we try submitting the button. Now let's come back here and I'll inspect it. Console, we'll go to console and Okay, see, actually we need a name attribute for every form element. So let's go and include that name attribute for every form element and then we'll continue. Okay, so here the name is going to be same as EMP ID. Let's keep it for like EMP ID. I'll just copy this. So this is going to be EMP ID and this is going to be EMP name. This is going to be phone and this is going to be email, designation, and finally the salary. Okay, so we included name attribute. Okay, and let's save it. Okay, now let's come back to the browser. Okay, right. Now if I click submit button, actually my employee object is empty. Why? Because we haven't given any data in the HTML, right? We didn't given any data in the HTML. Now let me try employee object 101. Let me try submitting it. Fantastic. Actually, at this point, my employee object has one property in it, EMP ID. Okay. And the name is Anand. Okay. At this point, if I hit submit button, okay, the employee object has both the information, ID and employee name. So that's how it's going to work. Okay. Phone number, Anand at gmail.com. So every time when we give the input in the text box, that will get binded with the object. 45,000 is my salary. And the moment when I hit submit, fantastic. So this is our employee object. It has almost every information that we wanted in the employee. Now the next step is we are going to pass this object from the component. Let's close everything else. From here to a service class. Okay, we actually created a service class. Here it is. So from here, we are going to pass it to service. And to do that, let's inject the service. Private, the service name, okay, EMP service is of type employee service. Okay, we have injected employee service. And now, instead of console.log, I just want to call this dot employee service dot. And it doesn't have any method. So let's create a method, okay, with the name create employee. And to that method, we are going to pass this object, this dot emp. We will be passing it. And also it will return something that we'll do it later. Now we need to create a method create employee method in EMP service class, right? But actually there is no such method. Now let's get it created automatically. Place your cursor over this and go for quick fix. Declare a method, create employee. Yes, click on it. Done. Let's save it and we'll come back here. Okay, so it created a method for us. Let's cut it. We'll put it after this constructor. And let me remove. So for this create employee method, one employee object is coming and I need to pass that employee object to this API through HTTP client. And to do that, we just use this dot HTTP client object dot. It has a method called post method. Okay. So in post method, we are going to pass an employee object. Okay. Where is the URL? Actually, the URL is set. Okay. Now it's supposed to be enclosed within backtick. Okay. In the backtick, base URL is the variable name that carries the API path. And to this path, we are going to pass this employee object. Okay. This object, whatever the object comes to this method, we are just going to pass it. That's it. Now this step is over. Okay. So we have, while submitting, we have passed the employee object to service And using HTTP client, we sent the employee object to API. Now, the API will send a response back to us. And generally it will be of type observable. So let's add a return type. See, the API will send a response as an observable of an object. Okay. So observable object will be same. And now what we have to do from service, we are just going to return it back to the component. Super. So the return type will be observable, and we are going to post this data, and whatever response comes in, we are just going to return back to the method from where it is being called. Now, from here only we called that method, right? In here, when the response comes, let's subscribe for the response. When the response comes and a lambda expression, whatever we got the data, we do nothing with the data. Okay, so let's just log in with the console as of now. Let me have a curly braces console.log the data. That's it. So the moment when we get the response, let me add a semicolon over here. We take the response data and we are just going to log it in the console. Okay. So subscribe, pair of curly braces correct, and the subscribe method, we are closing it here. Okay. And right, so why is it showing error? Let's check with it. Operator cannot be applied to the types number, and curly braces overloaded. Observer. Okay, let's just confirm. Okay, so we just implemented the lambda expression in the Java way. Actually, we are in Angular. So let's use equals operator. Okay, so that's the mistake what we did. Okay, and we will get the data and we are just going to just log the data. That's it. And that way it is completed. So we get the response in the component by subscribing it, and we are just going to print it. Now let's confirm, is that working perfectly? And 101 Raja, and the phone number and email ID. Designation, salary. Okay, I'm submitting it. And okay, we got the response. We just got the response. Okay, so, and let's confirm in the JSON by refreshing it. Yes, our data got stored here. Okay, our data got stored here. So we had only these information, but additionally, the JSON includes one more property called ID, and it is retaining like ID. This is one. Now let's try adding one more object. Let's say 102, and this time it is going to be Bala. And okay, so 333 and bala@gmail.com, team leader, and 43,300. Let's submit it. Okay, so that data also, record also got submitted, it seems. Let's come back to the JSON and let's refresh it. Fantastic. So in the JSON file, you can see two records has been included. And additionally, it includes an ID. Okay, the JSON. And even let's come here and let's scroll down to the folder where we had the db.json. And let's confirm here also. Yes, we got two objects. Additionally, it includes one attribute called ID in it. Okay, to read uniqueness in the data. Right. Okay, so this is about the component to add an employee object. And now in the next video, let's proceed with viewing details, viewing all inserted objects. Okay, let's create a component and let's do that in the next video. Thank you for watching it.